What if the woman you hired to fake being your fiancée was secretly planning to expose one of the most powerful families in the country, a billionaire with nothing left to lose, a fugitive with a burning secret, and one explosive night? That changes everything. This isn't just a love story. It's revenge, redemption, and justice served cold. If this story gave you chills, don't scroll just yet. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next viral drama. Got thoughts? Drop a comment. What would you do if you were in Ethan's shoes? Share this video with a friend who loves twist endings as much as you do. And if you want more stories where power meets truth, watch the next one. It's even crazier. Ethan Carter stared at the cream-colored envelope in his hand. Heavy paper, gilded edges, elegant calligraphy. He already knew what it was and who it was from. Vanessa Stone, the woman who had looked him in the eye 6 months ago and said, "It's not you, it's your world." Then she vanished, only to reappear now, with a wedding invitation. Not just any wedding, her engagement party. And not just to anyone, the heir of the Bradford political empire. He ripped the envelope open anyway. Same perfect script, same sharp smile behind every word. You are warmly invited to the engagement celebration of Vanessa Stone and Gregory Bradford. Vanessa. The name alone still lit a fire behind his ribs. But he wasn't hurt anymore. Not bitter, not broken. Focused. He sat back in the leather chair of his penthouse office, tapping the card against his palm. She wasn't just rubbing salt in the wound, she wanted to twist the knife. Invite him, parade her new upgrade around in front of New York's most powerful, and expect him to show up alone like a failure. She wanted him humiliated. No. Ethan muttered, not a chance. If she thought he'd show up broken, she was wrong. He wasn't walking into that ballroom alone, and he wasn't taking just anyone. No, she'd expect some socialite, some model, someone from his usual circle. That wouldn't rattle her. That wouldn't shake her confidence or crack her fake composure. He needed someone different, someone no one could predict, someone mysterious, untouchable, off the radar. He needed the kind of woman Vanessa wouldn't know how to categorize. The plan was already forming in his mind. Not revenge strategy. This wasn't about making a scene. It was about making her squirm. Let's see how perfect she feels when she can't take her eyes off the girl standing next to me. He reached for his phone. Somewhere out there was the perfect stranger. And Ethan Carter was about to find her. The next evening, Ethan Carter walked into Vera's, an upscale rooftop bar in downtown Manhattan. The place oozed understated luxury gold fixtures, slow jazz, and a panoramic view of the skyline. But Ethan wasn't there for the drinks or the view. He was there because his gut told him what his billions couldn't buy: intuition. Then he saw her. Behind the bar, moving like she owned the rhythm of the room, was Haley Brooks. Ponytail, high apron smudged, but her presence undeniable. While the other servers smiled politely, Haley shot sarcasm like bullets and handled entitled customers like chess pieces. Her mouth said, "I'm done with you," but her eyes said, "I see everything." Ethan froze, not in hesitation, but in recognition. That was her. That was the one. He didn't wait for her shift to end. He didn't send his assistant. He walked straight to the bar. "Whiskey neat, and a minute of your time," he said. Haley glanced at him, unimpressed. "You look like a man who gets what he wants, without asking." "Tonight I'm asking." She poured the drink. "Let me guess. This is the part where you offer me a modeling contract. A mysterious job or a weirdly specific bribe?" Ethan didn't blink. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a slim black envelope, and placed it on the bar. $20,000. 10 now, 10 after. I need a woman to attend an engagement party with me. One night. Nothing else. The room seemed to go quiet. Haley looked at the envelope, then back at him. "You think I can be bought?" "No. I think you're smart enough to listen." She leaned in slightly. "Whose party?" "My ex-fiancée." Haley laughed under her breath. "Let me guess. She's marrying someone important, and you want to show up with the kind of woman that makes her wonder if she made the worst mistake of her life." Ethan said nothing. That was enough. She grabbed a napkin and wiped her hands. "You don't want a woman. You want a story." Then she paused, eyes narrowing. "Why me?" Because you don't belong here, he said, voice even. You carry yourself like someone who's seen too much to care. People like that don't flinch under pressure. For the first time, Haley's expression flickered. Then she snorted. That's either the worst line I've ever heard, or the most honest. She stared at him for a long moment, then reached for the envelope. I'll go. Ethan nodded once, but she added quickly, I pick my dress, I don't play dumb. And if anyone asks how we met, I'm not saying on an app. Ethan allowed the faintest smile. Deal. She leaned closer, voice low. Don't fall in love with me, Carter. Wouldn't dream of it, he replied. But something in his chest shifted. Not love, not attraction, just curiosity. Who was she? Because for the first time in a long time, Ethan Carter, the man who calculated everything, didn't have a read on someone. And that terrified him more than any scandal ever could. The next afternoon, a black Range Rover pulled up outside a high-end salon in Tribeca. No sign, no flashing lights, just frosted windows, armed discretion, and clientele who only paid in cash or silence. Haley stepped out first. Tight black jeans, hoodie hair tied back like she was going to war, not a makeover. Ethan followed, buttoning his blazer. Inside, he said simply. She glanced at the glass doors, unimpressed. This where you build your Barbie dolls? He ignored the jab. Inside, the staff snapped into motion before he even spoke. Ethan nodded once to the manager. Full transformation. Hair, makeup, dress etiquette. Crash course. I want her ready in 3 hours. The manager looked at Haley, hesitated. She has good structure. Haley snorted. Thanks, I eat vegetables. They led her to a chair, surrounded by mirrors and lights. Ethan turned to leave, but before he stepped away, Haley tossed one last remark over her shoulder. If I end up looking like a trophy wife, I'm walking out barefoot. Ethan didn't reply, but he was listening. Every word, every reaction. 2.5 hours later, when the stylist called for him, Ethan stood in the hallway longer than he needed to. For once, he wasn't in control, and that unsettled him. He walked in and stopped cold. Haley stood under the overhead lights, in a midnight blue gown, tailored sharp at the waist, falling just above her knees. Her hair, once messy and pinned carelessly, now fell in clean, elegant waves. The makeup didn't cover her features. It sharpened them. Her eyes burned brighter, her lips were bold. But it wasn't the makeover that stunned him. It was her posture. She wasn't overwhelmed. She wasn't stunned by the crystal chandeliers or the price tag of the gown she was wearing. She was comfortable, like she'd stood in front of mirrors like this 1,000 times before. Say something, she said, arms crossed. Ethan finally blinked. You've done this before. She turned back to the mirror, adjusted her earring. I've worn dresses. Doesn't mean I belong in them. He stepped closer. That's not what I meant. You didn't hesitate once. Not in there. Not now. Is that a problem? He studied her face. You told me you were just a bartender. Haley smiled faintly. I told you I work at a bar. You're the one who made assumptions. There it was again, that sharpness, beneath the calm. Like she was walking a line between hiding and daring him to look closer. You carry yourself like someone who's used to power, he said quietly. She tilted her head. And you don't like not knowing the whole story, do you? Ethan didn't respond, because she was right. He'd built empires on knowing people, how they moved, what they wanted, what they were afraid of. But Haley. She was a black hole. No fear, no slip-ups, no tells, just cool, controlled mystery. And something about that unraveled him. As she changed into heels, the etiquette coach walked in with a clipboard and a crisp accent. We have 45 minutes. Eye contact, posture, smile. Nothing too eager, but confident. Walk like you're used to being watched. Haley raised an eyebrow. I am. The coach blinked. Ethan smirked. She's a quick study. Back in the car, the silence between them wasn't awkward. It was charged. Ethan finally asked, You sure you're ready for this? Haley looked out the window, watching the city blur by. You think I've never walked into a room full of liars wearing expensive suits? He turned to her. I think you've done a lot of things you're not telling me. She didn't deny it, just leaned her head back, lips curling slightly. Let's give them a night they won't forget. And for the first time, Ethan wasn't thinking about Vanessa. He was thinking about Haley, and the strange, dangerous feeling in his gut that she wasn't here to play his game. She might be playing her own. The black SUV pulled up to the Astoria Grand Hotel, where spotlights glinted off rows of Bentleys and Rolls-Royces. Inside, the ballroom buzzed with political royalty, business elites, and society's most polished predators. The air was rich with perfume, ambition, and secrets. Ethan Carter stepped out first, calm as ever, in a custom black tux. Then he turned and held out his hand. Haley stepped out, and the world paused. Every camera turned, every head swiveled, every whisper started. In a sleek, off-shoulder ivory dress that hugged every inch like it was designed just for her, Haley didn't just arrive, she claimed the room. Hair swept into a soft twist, diamond studs, glinting posture like she'd been born walking red carpets. But it was her eyes that stopped people. Calm, cold, focused. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. She looked like a secret no one could afford to ignore. And that's exactly what Ethan wanted. "This is war," he whispered at her side. Haley replied, without looking. "Then, let's make it pretty." As they entered the grand ballroom, heads turned like dominoes. Political advisors, CEOs, old money heiresses, no one could figure her out. They stared, whispered, speculated. Then Vanessa Stone turned, glass in hand, diamond necklace shimmering, designer gown dripping with power. Her smile faltered the second she saw Ethan, but it vanished the moment she laid eyes on Haley. For a split second she froze, then quickly recovered with a practiced grin and approached. "Ethan," she said smoothly, "didn't expect to see you here and miss such a beautiful evening," he said, voice dry. "Never." Vanessa turned to Haley. "And you are—" Before Ethan could speak, Haley extended a gloved hand. "Haley Carter, Ethan's fiancée." Silence. A champagne flute cracked in someone's hand behind them. Vanessa blinked once, just once, but her smile was already stretched too thin. "Fiancé? That's vast." Haley smiled sweetly. "Time feels different when things are real." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "You look familiar." Haley tilted her head, tone innocent. High society does get repetitive. Same events, same scandals, same people pretending to be better than they are." Ethan bit back a smirk. Vanessa's lips tightened. "Where did you two meet, Paris?" Haley answered smoothly. "A gallery. I was admiring a painting. He was admiring me." Vanessa gave a dry laugh. "Of course." Then Haley leaned in, just a touch lowering her voice. "I was engaged once too." Vanessa froze. "But I didn't sell my heart for influence." The words hit like a slap with a silk glove. Vanessa's eyes went cold. Ethan saw it. So did everyone standing close enough to catch the tension. Vanessa's fiancé, Gregory Bradford, suddenly appeared by her side, sensing the static. "Everything all right, babe?" Vanessa smiled too wide. "Perfect. Just meeting old friends." Gregory extended a hand toward Haley. "And you are Haley?" she said, accepting the handshake with poised precision. "A nobody." Gregory chuckled. "Hardly." Haley turned back to Vanessa. "Lovely event. Lavish, elegant. Very on brand." Vanessa's nails dug into her champagne glass. She looked Haley dead in the eye. "Enjoy the evening while you can." "I always do," Haley replied. Then she slipped her arm into Ethan's and walked away. Across the ballroom, Ethan whispered, "That wasn't just a jab. That was surgical." Haley kept her eyes forward. She needed to bleed a little. "You said you were a bartender." "I am," she replied. "But even bartenders get tired of serving the wrong people." Ethan didn't respond. He couldn't, because in that moment, he realized Vanessa wasn't the one commanding this room anymore. Haley was, and the woman he thought he hired to play a part. She wasn't playing anything. She was making a statement, one the entire room could hear. And Vanessa just lost the spotlight. The party was over, but Haley's words still echoed. "I was engaged once, but I didn't sell my heart for influence." That line didn't just rattle Vanessa. It cracked something open in Ethan. On the surface, they'd won. People were talking. Cameras had captured the moment. The internet was already buzzing. "Who's Ethan Carter's mysterious fiancé?" Headlines would run by morning. But Ethan Carter didn't celebrate noise. He analyzed silence, and Haley's silence had become deafening. She had handled the night with too much ease. She didn't just survive the ballroom, she commanded it. Her words were precise, her poise flawless, and the way she stared Vanessa down. Like it was personal. Too personal. Back at his penthouse, Ethan poured a glass of scotch and opened his laptop. He typed her name, Haley Brooks. Nothing. Not just no headlines, no records, no school, no address, no social media, no driver's license, no tax file. Just static. Ethan leaned back, frowning. He knew people who didn't exist online. But not this clean. This wasn't low profile. This was intentional erasure. He clicked through multiple databases, ran her photo through facial recognition tools. Still nothing. Not even a match from DMV surveillance. Who the hell was she? The next morning, Ethan waited until Haley came downstairs. She looked as calm as ever, oversized hoodie hair, up sipping black coffee like she hadn't shattered a political heiress the night before. "Sleep well?" she asked. He didn't answer, just handed her his phone. On the screen, a blank search result. "I ran your name," he said quietly. Haley froze just for a second, then smiled thinly. "Find anything fun?" "Not a single thing. Not even a parking ticket." She took a sip of her coffee. "Maybe I'm just really boring." Ethan stepped closer. "No, you're something else. You walk like someone who grew up around power. You speak like someone who's been trained to navigate a room full of predators." "That's not bartending experience, Haley." Her eyes hardened, but she didn't flinch. "Why are you here?" he asked, voice lower. "What are you really after?" For a beat, she didn't move. The room went still. Then she set her mug down. "I'm not here to hurt you, Ethan." "That's not an answer." She looked up at him, eyes steady. "I didn't lie to you. I just didn't explain everything. Try me." Silence stretched thin. Then she exhaled slowly. "You live in a world that eats people like me. You shake hands with billionaires and politicians. I've spent years just trying to stay off their radar. And now you've pulled me right back into it." Ethan studied her. "So you're hiding." "I'm surviving," she snapped. "There's a difference." Her voice trembled slightly, not with fear, but with held-back fire. "I've had everything taken from me. Name home safety. I've lived in places you wouldn't walk through in daylight. I've been followed, threatened, buried under lies I couldn't afford to correct. So yeah, maybe I don't leave a digital trail, maybe I stay quiet, but don't confuse that with weakness." The weight in her words slammed into him like a wave. She wasn't being dramatic. She was telling him, without giving him all the pieces, that there was a reason she had disappeared, a reason that mattered, a reason that hurt. And suddenly, the night before made even more sense. The look in her eyes when she faced Vanessa, the deliberate calm, the scars she never showed. She hadn't just stood beside him to prove a point. She had walked into that room with a mission. Ethan didn't push further. Not yet. Instead, he nodded slowly. "You didn't answer my question." She looked him in the eye. "Because you haven't earned the truth." And with that, she turned and walked away. Leaving him in the silence she wore like armor. But now Ethan wasn't just curious. He was worried. Because he could feel it in his gut. This wasn't just about an ex, or an appearance, or even a scandal. Haley Brooks had walked into his life with ghosts behind her, and the deeper he went, the more he realized. She wasn't the one who needed saving. He might be. Ethan Carter had always believed everyone had a price. Information, loyalty, silence. Everything could be bought if you knew what buttons to press. But Haley Brooks. She was a locked vault, and the deeper he dug, the more he realized this wasn't just mystery. It was danger. That morning, unable to shake the unease, Ethan called in someone he trusted more than anyone: Logan Tate, a former CIA analyst turned private investigator. If anyone could uncover what Haley was hiding, it was Logan. Run her. Full, deep trace. No name. Just face. Logan didn't ask questions. By nightfall, he called back. "I found her, and you're not gonna like it." Ethan's chest tightened. "Talk." "Her name's not Haley Brooks. That identity was built from scratch about 4 years ago. No real trace before that, except one sealed juvenile record locked under Homeland Security protocols." "So who is she?" Silence crackled on the line. "She's Haley Grant." That name hit like a punch to the ribs. Ethan stood frozen in front of his office window, the city glittering beneath him, oblivious. Grant. As in, yes, Logan said. Daughter of Daniel Grant, Pulitzer-winning investigative journalist. The guy who got killed in that freak apartment fire 5 years ago while digging into political corruption at the state level. Ethan's mouth went dry. Daniel Grant was investigating the Bradfords, Vanessa's family. Exactly, Logan confirmed. Word was, he was days away from releasing documents that could have ended the entire Bradford empire, money laundering illegal campaign funds, even blackmail tied to private intelligence firms. And then he just died. Fire gutted the place. Nothing left. Police called it an accident. But unofficially, everyone knew it stunk. Ethan paced, fists clenched. And Haley? She vanished, off the grid. No funeral, no public statements, just gone. Until now. Suddenly everything clicked, the fire in her eyes, the poise under pressure. The reason she hadn't flinched in that ballroom, because she'd been walking through fire for years. She hadn't crashed Ethan's world, she was using it as a weapon. And last night, that wasn't performance, that was a war move. Ethan found Haley on the terrace hood, up arms folded against the chill. He didn't waste time. Your name's not Haley Brooks. She didn't turn around. It's Haley Grant, daughter of Daniel Grant, the man your ex-fiancée's family helped silence. Now she turned slowly. Her face was blank, but her eyes filled with fire. How long have you known today? Silence stretched, then her voice low but razor sharp. So what now? You call the press. Out me. Throw me to the wolves like the last man who got too close. Ethan stepped forward. I'm not here to betray you, but I deserve the truth. She stared at him, and something inside her cracked. Not her strength, just her walls. My father died screaming for the truth. He uncovered everything, names, accounts, proof. The Bradfords had people inside every agency. He was going to expose them. They silenced him, and made it look like a broken smoke detector. And you disappeared. I had to. I was 17. They were watching me. Every friend I had was questioned. My college acceptances vanished. Even my mother's grave got vandalized. Her hands shook now. So I erased myself, learned to survive, changed names, slept in shelters, worked jobs they'd never suspect. But I didn't forget. I waited for a crack in their armor. Ethan's voice softened. And I'm the crack. She looked at him, raw and unguarded. No. Vanessa is. She's sloppy now. Powerful, but sloppy. Your invitation was the only way I could get close. And if I was going to be seen, I needed to be unforgettable. So you used me, at first. The silence hung thick in the cold air. And now he asked. Haley stepped closer. Now I'm terrified. Because you're the only person I've let see who I really am. And I don't know if that makes you my ally, or another mistake. Ethan didn't flinch. He placed his hand over hers. I've built empires on knowing how to break people. But you're not here to be broken. You're here to finish something your father started. I don't need saving, Ethan. I know, but maybe I do. And in that moment they weren't billionaire and bartender. Not fake lovers, not political pawns. Just two broken souls standing on the edge of something dangerous. And maybe, just maybe, something real. Later that night, the rooftop was quiet. Manhattan glowed below like it always did, indifferent, endless. But up here, something had shifted. Ethan leaned against the railing, his mind still racing with everything Haley had said. The lies, the erasure, the fire, her father, her plan. He didn't know what shook him more, the fact that she had gotten this close to him without him noticing, or that now he didn't want her to leave. Behind him, footsteps approached. So Haley said calmly, You found the truth. Now what? He turned slowly, jaw clenched. Not in anger, but in conflict. He stared at her, really looked. You used me. Yes, she replied. No hesitation. Because that night at Vanessa's party, that's when they're most exposed. No handlers, no press control, just celebration, arrogance, distraction. That's when powerful people make mistakes. Her voice didn't shake. Not anymore. She wasn't hiding. Not tonight. That's why I said yes. Not because of the money. Not even because of you." He stepped closer. "Then why are you still here?" Haley exhaled. "Because somewhere between the plan and the lies, I saw something in you I didn't expect. You don't just play the game they fear you. And I thought, maybe for once, I didn't have to fight alone." Ethan was silent for a moment. Then his voice dropped. "I'm not angry. You used me." "You should be." "No," he said, stepping forward, eyes locked on hers. "I'm angry I didn't see it sooner. That there's a whole machine out there destroying people like your father, and I've been standing next to them at galas, shaking their hands, thinking I was above it all." His tone shifted, hardening. "I want in." Haley blinked. "What?" "You're going to take them down. All of them. And I'm going to help you. Not because I feel sorry for you, and not because I owe you anything." He took another step, the space between them almost gone. "I'm doing it because I hate people who think they can step on others and never be held accountable. People like Vanessa's father, people like Gregory Bradford." Haley's voice was quiet now. "This could ruin you. Then let it. I've built companies. I'll build again. But if I let this slide, if I walk away now, I'll never be anything but another coward in a custom suit." A long pause. Then, for the first time, Haley's expression cracked. Not fear, not calculation, just something soft, something grateful, something like relief. "You really mean it?" Ethan gave a slow nod. "Let's burn the whole damn thing down." It all came down to this. The Blackridge Legacy Gala, a political powerhouse event, held once a year, hosted by none other than the Bradford family in honor of their supposed commitment to American integrity. The hypocrisy made Haley sick. But tonight, she and Ethan were about to light the truth on fire. The ballroom glittered like something out of a fantasy. Gold chandeliers, black-tie guests, press snapping photos as politicians shook hands with tech moguls and legacy billionaires. No one suspected a thing. Ethan entered first, calm and commanding. Every camera turned his way. Every whisper started again Ethan Carter's back. And who would he bring this time? Then Haley stepped out. A black velvet gown, minimal makeup, hair down in loose waves, no diamonds, no flash, just her quiet power. Vanessa spotted them immediately from the stage. Her smile dropped. Her father, Senator Thomas Bradford, leaned in, whispering something tight and cold. Haley smiled politely. She knew. "You built your empire on lies. Tonight, I turn every brick into dust." They didn't head for the bar. They walked straight to the stage. People started murmuring. Ethan tapped the mic just as the senator began his speech. Everyone froze. "Sorry to interrupt, Senator," he said, voice cool. "But this crowd deserves honesty. And I believe someone here has a little truth to share." Gasps. A few phones lifted. Flashes blinked. Haley stepped forward beside him, voice firm. "My name is Haley Grant, daughter of Daniel Grant, the investigative journalist who died 5 years ago in a fire ruled as an accident. That was a lie. And the people behind that lie are in this room." Now every camera turned. Guests stopped mid-sip. You could hear forks hit porcelain. Haley pulled out a sleek drive from her clutch and plugged it into the stage screen. Instantly, the projection lit up a recorded video of her father talking about shell companies, forged campaign donations, and a whistleblower inside the Bradford Fund. Then, footage of Vanessa signing offshore account transfers. Audio recordings of Senator Bradford threatening a journalist in a private meeting. Bank documents. Flight logs. Encrypted messages. It was a firestorm of corruption, all unraveling in real time. Vanessa's face drained of color. Her father stood frozen, jaw tight, eyes darting to the press as flashes intensified. "Turn that off," the senator barked. But no one moved, because no one could stop it now. The FBI agent in the back of the room stepped forward, flashing a badge. "Senator Thomas Bradford, Vanessa Stone, you are under federal investigation for conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and accessory to murder." Gasps erupted. Security surrounded them. Vanessa backed away, shaking. "You can't do this." "Actually," the agent said, "we can. We've been waiting for the last piece. And thanks to Ms. Grant, we have it." Cameras swarmed. Reporters shouted. Some guests tried to leave, but stayed. They wanted to see this. Vanessa turned to Ethan, desperation flickering. You set me up? He stared down at her. No, you set yourself up. You just never thought anyone would be brave enough to fight back. Then he turned to Haley. Ready to walk out of this place different? Haley looked at him, eyes glassy, but steady. I already did, the moment I stopped running. As they exited the ballroom together, hand in hand, the crowd parted. No longer whispers, no longer questions, just respect, fear, and awe. They didn't just take down a dynasty, they exposed a system. And the world would never forget the night the hunted turned the tables. ChatGPT said, hours later the chaos faded behind them, flashing lights, headlines, handcuffs and scandal. The city was still humming, but Ethan and Haley had escaped it all. Now they sat side by side at Pier 42, legs dangling over the edge, the Hudson River dark and still beneath their feet. The wind was cold, but neither of them moved. For the first time in years, Haley was still. No aliases, no running, no lies, just the woman she was always meant to be. Ethan looked over at her, searching her face, not for answers, but for peace. So, now what? Haley didn't speak right away. She watched the ripples in the water, the city lights dancing across the surface. I don't know, she finally said, her voice softer than he'd ever heard it. But I do know this. I'm done running. She turned to face him fully. For the first time in years, I can breathe. Ethan reached out, took her hand gently, but without hesitation. Then let's build something new. Not out of anger, not out of revenge. He paused. Let's build something out of hope, out of choice. Haley looked down at their hands. Hers scarred his steady and then back up into his eyes. She didn't smile. She felt. Okay, she whispered. And just like that, the girl who had spent years hiding behind shadows and silence, and the man who had built walls of steel and status, started again. Not as survivors, but as something more, as partners, as truth, as freedom, together. 1 year later, the headlines had faded. The trials had passed. The Bradfords were no longer untouchable. They were just another cautionary tale in the ashes of power. But Haley Grant didn't look back. She looked forward. At the heart of Brooklyn stood a modest brick building with bold glass windows. On the door, the Echo Project, a voice for the silenced. Inside, journalists, tech experts, and legal advisors worked shoulder to shoulder investigating cases others were too afraid to touch. Whistleblowers had a place to speak. Victims had someone who listened. And the corrupt, they had something new to fear. Haley wasn't just surviving anymore. She was leading. She was building change from the ruins of her past. And Ethan. He never missed a meeting, but only as a silent investor. His name wasn't on the board. He didn't need recognition. He just needed her to have the power she had earned. They still lived in the city, but not in the spotlight. No press statements, no red carpets, just quiet dinners, long walks, shared moments without masks. They didn't make announcements. They made a life. Some nights, Haley would catch him looking at her across the apartment. No words, just that familiar gaze that once burned with control, now softened with something stronger, trust. On the 1-year anniversary of the expose, Ethan brought home takeout and a new espresso machine she didn't ask for, but secretly wanted. As they sat on the floor unpacking boxes, she reached over and took his hand. A pause. Then softly, "Thank you for believing in me, even when I was hiding from the world." Ethan looked at her. You weren't hiding. You were preparing to change it. And together they smiled. Not for the cameras, not for the world, just for each other. Sometimes the most powerful act isn't revenge. It's choosing to stop running and start rebuilding. This story reminds us that truth doesn't stay buried forever. And even in a world ruled by power, wealth, and lies, one voice, one bold step can shake the entire system. Haley didn't need saving. She needed someone to believe in her when no one else did. And Ethan. He realized that real strength isn't in status or control. It's in using your influence to stand up for what's right. In a time where so many are afraid to speak up, this reminds us. Your story matters. Your truth matters, and sometimes healing begins not with a spotlight, but with someone silently standing beside you saying, "I believe you." So whether you've been hiding hurting or holding back, maybe today's the day you stop running and start living. What part of this story hit you the hardest? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe more people need to hear stories like this, subscribe and turn on notifications. We're just getting started. Truth deserves to be told, and so do you.